Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We warmly welcome all of you present over here, watching us on YouTube and Facebook. A very warm welcome. Hare Krishna to all of you. So, our journey started last year, somewhere around June, on our beloved father's Vyasa-puja. We are here on the fourth global online event organized by Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj's sanga. And today we are celebrating the 72nd Vyasa-puja of our beloved grandfather, spiritual warrior, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. So we welcome all of you on this session, and just because we're on day one of the session, we're going to be having a 3-day festival starting today, tomorrow, day after, with a total of 5 sessions, wherein we're going to have and we're going to get an opportunity to hear from senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who are god brothers of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, the spiritual sons and daughters of Maharaj, and also the grandsons and granddaughters. So stay tuned for a wonderful 5-session celebration, which is going to be spread over 3 days. And before we start this beautiful session, with a lot of offerings from all throughout the country and the world, we're going to be seeking blessings and permission of our dear Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, so that we can begin this celebration. Srila Gurudev, Hare Krishna.
What should I do?
We seek your permission and blessings, Srila Gurudev, so that we can commence this festival.
Wish all of you the blessings of Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, that he gives the blessing for all of you to appreciate the wonderful contribution he has made to the whole world under his divine grace, his compound of 𝐒𝐤𝐬𝐬 and the international ISKCON body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Srila Gurudev. We're all now totally ready to start these celebrations. And before we move on to seeing the schedule for today, I would request my dear sister Yogini Mataji to take us through the language interpretation. So upon your screen, you're going to be having some announcements. Please stay tuned, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. So today we have some Portuguese and Brazilian audience, so they will be listening to the Portuguese translation. So I will now explain the feature in Portuguese. Hare Krishna, queridos devotos, sejam bem-vindos ao nosso programa. Para aqueles de vocês que precisam de interpretação simultânea, tradução simultânea, para acessar o canal é só apertar no ícone do globinho no canto inferior da sua tela, no lado direito, e aí vai aparecer um menu, só apertar no português e aí vocês vão para o canal de português. No celular, aperte nos 3 pontinhos, depois no ícone Language Interpretation, no globinho, e depois no ícone, na língua, no canal português, e depois em Done. E aí vocês ouvirão em português. Muito obrigada. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Yogini Mataji. So, dear devotees, you'll be quickly seeing a pop on your screen. So do not forget to get into the right channels so that you can properly enjoy the entire session. So now we're going to be having a quick look at today's schedule. And by now you would have seen Ask Your Servant in the chat box, right? So if you have any technical queries or any questions throughout the session, you can type in your questions, comments, or any detail that you wish to mention to Ask Your Servant in the chat box. So today's session is fully packed with videos, wonderful talks, dramas, and some surprises towards the end of the session. So we're going to be starting off with a talk by His Holiness 𝐾𝐻 Swami Maharaj, which would be shortly starting. This is going to be followed by a talk by Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, on the topic community building. This will be followed by a drama put up by the devotees from the Indian Yatra on the early life of Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. post which we're going to be hearing from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj on the topic Surrender in Practice. And lastly, we're going to be having a talk by His Grace Srivas Vanachari Prabhu and the surprise, which is the cake ceremony. And not to forget, we're going to be having some polls, quizzes coming all throughout this session, somewhere in the middle of the session. So stay tuned so that you can take part of this wonderful celebrations. Now, we're going to be starting off our session with a beautiful video. We're celebrating His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj's 72nd Vyasa-puja. So we would be really happy to see him and hear from him in the video. So up on your screen, you're going to be having a video shown on the topic, Genuine Practitioners Are About Love and Devotion. So on your screen, you will have the video. Hare Krishna. The video would shortly be there on your screen. We'll just quickly get there. We're facing some technical challenges, but we'll have the video up on the screen soon. There you go.
I realized, even at an early age, that religions are vehicles. Some people like to drive a Jeep, some people like to drive a Mercedes, some people like to drive a truck. The important thing is not necessarily the vehicle, but to get in the vehicle, to make sure it's in good shape, and to go where you have to go. See, God is not a God of any sectarian group. The Supreme Lord, in all the major scriptures of the world, has never said that I am the God for the Presbyterians only, I'm the God for the Jehovah's Witness only, I'm the God for the Sunni Muslims only, for the Sufi Muslims only, I'm the God for the Baha'is, for the Buddhists, or for the Shivites, or for the Vaishnavas. No, but the pronouncements is that I am supreme, loving God who's concerned. And so therefore, we may choose a certain path to try to contact with that God, but the important thing is to make sure that it's a genuine path, and even more important is to follow it genuinely. See, every tradition and every religious system has hypocrites and also has genuine practitioners. Hypocrites are a disturbance. They cause fanaticism, sectarianism, and confusion. Genuine practitioners are about love and devotion.
Wonderful. It was really sweet seeing Maharaj and hearing from Maharaj. Thank you so much, Param Gurudev, for putting up these words, and we're grateful that we could hear and see Maharaj in the very beginning of the session. So now we're going to be having a very special speaker. We have a very special speaker with us, His Holiness 𝐶𝐤𝐴 Swami Maharaj Ji. So I would just quickly have a brief introduction of Maharaj for all of us to know. Maharaj is a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. His Holiness 𝐶𝐤𝐴 Swami Maharaj met the Hare Krishna devotees in 1967 and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1971. Hare Krishna Maharaj. He joined the temple in Tucson, Arizona, and since that time, he has served in the United States and around the world in various capacities, such as selling of Srila Prabhupada's books to libraries, universities, and individuals. And in Japan, in 1982, Maharaj took his sannyas vows, and in 1987, Maharaj became GBC member of Japan. His GBC responsibilities expanded from Japan to places such as Thailand, Indonesia, Greece, and West Africa. 𝐶𝐤𝐴 Swami Maharaj Ji is also a committee member of the GBC Executive Committee, ISKCON Law Committee, and Revision Committee. Maharaj has a special interest in book distribution and Harinam Sankirtan, and he writes about his faith in Srila Prabhupada on the topic of Harinam. And Maharaj also invests time in devotee care by writing articles, participating in conferences, and vigorously encouraging others to put effort into making it a priority. Maharaj is a traveling preacher and initiating spiritual master of many disciples in GBC regions and beyond. We're very fortunate and grateful to Maharaj that he is here with us today. And as a token of our love, gratitude, and respect for Maharaj over here, I would request His Grace Jagannivas Prabhuji to kindly offer garlands for Maharaj. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. And please accept also this Mahagarland from Sri Sri Krishna Balaram and Srila Prabhupada.
Wow, thank you. Okay, virtual everything these days. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyanangana Shalakaya Chaksuramilitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desa Tarane Vanchakalpa Triviyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyebcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Niti Namane Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tushe Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavane Shri Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Well, thank you for this opportunity. It's always great to hear the glories of devotees, and I hope I can manage to hear some of the other speakers throughout the course of time. But I first met Bhakti Tirtha Swami when he was traveling with the library party, and they stopped by Chicago airport where we were distributing books. And I remember he followed me around and was taking notes on what I was saying to people. So, he had that kind of. Then I knew him some then because we were in different places. Then they formed another party after the library party that was just trying to sell Bhagavatam sets to other people, which nowadays is going big, but in those days, not so easy. And I got paired up with him. And it was very interesting. We just had a subscriber list for some magazine of people that were really interested in mystical things. And they'd call the people up and say, we have these ancient books of wisdom. And, and a lot of them would say, come and show us some books. And a lot of the people would have a house full of books, every kind of crazy book you'd ever imagine, so-called spiritual. And in those days, it had to give people like time payments, $5 a month and things like that. But they were going, but his style was, because he's such an amazing personality, and he did most of the talking in our group. And he would tell people, I know aura reading, I read auras, and you have this very spiritual aura and something, but I can tell in your past life, you were a great yogi, but somehow or other, you made some offenses or something. So you're here now, but now you're still really spiritual, and this is your big chance. And people were so fascinated by that it was very powerful. And when we were driving, he always wanted to drive, which I didn't really like, because he he didn't sleep very much, and so he was a little sleepy. But he wanted to drive to have something to do, because it's so easy to fall asleep when you're riding in a car. So, but he was very learned. He studied Prabhupada books like anything, and he would just, ask. I remember specifically one time he asked that, there's a 26 earth, water, fire, the 26 elements. He was asking about all these things, and it was quite enlivening. And then a lot of the time I was just reading, and I was leaning over sideways, in his direction. There's a small car, and I was trying to read the book really loud. And so I wasn't watching at all what was going on. So one time we stopped at a red light, and then all of a sudden, and I looked up and we hit a lamppost, and he had fallen asleep and pushed the gas pedal down. And so we cut right across the intersection and hit this corner lamppost, and it fell right on the roof of the car right between us. But neither one of us got hurt. So I didn't say anything. I just, and he appreciated it. He told me later, everybody else was chastising him. I was so shocked, and I knew he was so sincere. What could you say? It's just one of these things that happen. So we had some relationship like that. Then I visited him. At the time he was preaching really big in DC. And that was a terrible time for ISKCON in America, religion in general. And the deprogrammers were very strong, and the temples were not making new devotees. Even devotees were leaving there was a lot of crisis and internal also, and the deprogramming. But because he was preaching in the particular community, his community, and the universities and the radio stations and TV of those people, they were kind of new agey, quite spiritual minded people. But the deprogrammers, they were not concerned. They're concerned with the Jewish kids and the Lutherans and things. So he made a lot of really good devotees, like Bali, for one, who just left his body, and Gitanagari, and many others. Madhavananda, the doctor that's in Maryland, and so many really good devotees. It's a very dynamic program. But it was isolated other, devotees at that time. And we didn't have Zoom, and we didn't have even long distance phone calls. Cost so much then, and nobody really knew what he was doing. But I visited him. I saw it was really dynamic. And because some, devotees are always wondering what's going on, because rumors always come. And then somehow I got, there were all kinds of stories about Africa that weren't true also. But somehow or other I got the assignment to be co-GBC in West Africa. And I had gone there, and I knew what was going on. I saw at that time, I don't know when that was, around 1990 or something. It was very dynamic. The economy in West Africa was still very good. It was just starting to get weird, but generally they had nice preaching center, temple in the cities, and lots of people coming. The devotees were very popular, so the Christians were attacking. they didn't appreciate that devotees became so popular. And he was really popular. He was like a TV star. And at that time, television stations were always inviting him, especially one would record when he came. They would record like 8 programs and then show them again and again. The guru, they call it, or something like that. And so Hare Krishna became very well known. He was especially well known. But even when I went after there was internal problems and he couldn't get a visa for some years. But even then, we'd always get on television. But then the Christians came down hard and television stations started charging a fortune to get on, and it wasn't free anymore. But in his day, it was. He was a very famous personality. He met lots of chiefs and kings, and he was made an honorary chief. Everyone's heard that story. And he would preach to these, African people that were chiefs and priests where nobody normally could. Everybody's just offering on respect. Then the ISKCON was, we don't want to get into the history, but the details, but there was a lot of turmoil. Just like the Srimad Bhagavatam says, when the Acharya leaves, there will be chaos. So Prabhupada left, physical presence. We didn't have him to go to settle any kind of conflict and just say this is the way it is, or you're both wrong, or you're both right. You have to work together. Whatever Prabhupada would say would happen. We didn't have that. And then we had many problems of leaders giving up their service and things like that. So he quit participating in the GBC and spending a lot of time in Africa. Some crazy people were saying this and that. And then somehow I went to Africa again, like I said, so it was very good. But then we had the economic crisis and he got his visa blocked. And then we convinced him to come back, and he came to the GBC meeting. He came to Mayapur and immediately became so popular, preaching and like screaming and yelling and love, and the devotees loved it. And he got invited all over the world, and he more or less, had confined himself to Washington, D.C. and Africa. But all of a sudden he was being invited everywhere, and he was traveling like mad, especially in Eastern Europe, Russia. And then he came up with all these brilliant seminars because he was so surprised to see, like he did one about depression and forgiveness. And, he saw that he asked devotees, and a very high percentage of the devotees in Eastern Europe had at some point thought about suicide. And because of his education, he had studied all these kind of things. And he had, a brilliant way of presenting everything and helping devotees. So he became so popular, he was practically had no time to go to Africa. And I was pretty helpless there. I didn't have the same type of, personality or attractiveness at all. But gradually, and Africa got total disaster economy and so many things. But his Shakti was there. Everyone would remember him. Then he wrote many books. Everybody knows are very important books. I remember one Mataji in Radhadesh. She was some sort of a professor or something also. And she was saying, I'm so glad that there's a devotee that writes about these subjects, psychology and, all these different things that we tend to not recognize, that everybody's not ready to just chant Hare Krishna and forget everything, you know. We have baggage, so he dealt with all that very expertly and really helped a lot of devotees. Everywhere he went, he became super popular. So he didn't come back to Africa so much. So then I didn't see him so much. But everybody knows, if you were ever with him, he was a genuine, and he always talked about love, but he had great love for Prabhupada, and he had great love for Krishna. He was naturally very spiritual from his childhood. I guess one good fortune, he grew up with, semi-poverty, with a super pious religious mother who taught him all good, principles of forgiveness and tolerance and all those things. So it was very, very, we're so fortunate to have had him in our midst, and he hasn't left because he left all these books behind. Then I, miraculously, I was in West Africa, and at that time, I practically never got any donation in Africa. They just asked me for money. And one Indian sometimes gave about $20, that was quite a big donation. But I was thinking I wanted to visit him because I knew he was in 𝐷īra, and it was very close to the end of his stay with us. And one devotee was a travel agent, and he gave me a ticket. Even Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj himself couldn't believe it. He said they never gave him a ticket. And when I checked in, the girl said, "Is there anything else I can do for you?" And I was joking. I said, "Well, you could give me business class, But it turned out it was a business class ticket. I guess as a travel agent, we had some points or something. So I was able to go to 𝐷īra, and he was there. Chandramauli Swami came at the same time, and he was so kind and loving. And when I first saw him, he had that smile, the unbelievable smile and effulgence. And I thought, well, he's all right, Then I looked at his body, and it was about the size of mine, and normally he was about double my size. So then I realized, what the condition was. So I spent a few days, and he had a very nice program there with all the devotees chanting, and 24 hours, a lot of devotees. He was a master of drama, so he orchestrated his departure really nicely to engage so many devotees and bring devotees very much aware, writing that book, Die Before You Die, and all his deep meditations. And then I'll repeat this for the Africans. So the morning I was leaving, he was telling me go back to Africa, So I asked him if he had any message for the devotees in Africa. And this was the days with no cell phones, and I didn't have any recording equipment. I had one movie camera, but that battery was dead. So he told me the four things. He said, preserve what you have. Of course, that means the properties, but also the devotees, I think especially he meant that. Worship the deities. He mentioned that we've had a lot of problems because of offenses in deity worship. And he said, distribute the books. And the first thing he said, which is very similar to what Prabhupada said in his last days, he just said it on the opposite way. Prabhupada said, your love for me will be tested by how much you cooperate together. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said, don't quarrel amongst yourselves. That was the first thing he said. Then, preserve what we have, distribute the books, and take good care of the deities. And that morning he was in quite bad shape. He'd saying the night was really tough. When I came in the afternoon on the way out, he was sitting under some kind of vibration light or something that was a healing thing. And he was, pain had gone away and he was feeling all right. And then I said, can you repeat these instructions so I can record it? He said, no, you'll have to trust you. So I don't know if the devotees trust me or not, but this is what he told me. And it's not only for devotees in Africa, but I have found that since his departure, especially the senior, older devotees there, have become very much empowered and representing not all his full opulences in full like he had, but like Bhakti Tirtha Swami has become a brilliant preacher, and sadhaka and brahmana, and Srivas has become a very astute manager and scholar and teacher on so many different levels, and other ones that they're just becoming very mature, actually working together and giving up their whatever and letting the young devotees come forward. And it's been, I always like to, when I'm in Mayapur, I always like to go to Samadhi. And first I used to just pray and beg, please, help these devotees. Now I can actually give reports of how they're all doing really good. So, and he was, you all know him maybe more than me, a lot of you, but he was such a personality, and yet he genuine, because it's not like he was fake, but if you were talking to him, you were the only person in the world, as far as he was concerned, you felt like that. And everybody would feel like that. He gave full attention, heart to heart. He was a very heart person. He told me once I was, but he was very kind, because just tolerating me and trying to encourage me. One time he told me in a GBC meeting, and we were doing some sort of I don't know what it was, teamwork drill or something. And he told me, don't compare yourself to others so much. It's almost like you have low self-esteem. And he was right on, straightforward, but it's true. And that's also a good instruction for everybody. We'll see it all the time if we look at any self-help or any guidance, how to get through life is don't compare, don't worry that someone's better than you or you're better than someone else. Either one of those things is going to cripple us for spiritual progress and material progress. But just, try to do the best we can. He did that. He gave his full on everything. As much as possible, he gave up sleeping, chanted, and everyone knows his ecstatic kirtans, his dancing. When I saw him in the last time, it was about 6 or 7 weeks before he departed. Radhanath Swami hadn't come yet at that time. And he started crying. Chandramauli and I came in at the same time. Tears were just flooding down. And then he kind of laughed. He said, the two things that I was most attached to, dancing and traveling. And he said, in one doctor visit, they're both taken away. And he just laughed. How Krishna took it away because he only had the one leg, so he couldn't dance anymore. And he tried to keep that leg and deal with the cancer, and he suffered so much physically. He told me that last time. He said, you see how my body is suffering, his arm didn't work, the bones were just breaking, and he had to be helped for everything he did. he said, you can't imagine the mind is much more bad. But he just kept a big smile, and he'd stay up until he finished his rounds every night, every day, no matter what. And he was writing, very deep and clear-headed stuff. And we've heard from Radhanath Swami how, as he got towards really the end, he was just so absorbed in ecstasy. He's not an ordinary person, but even an ordinary devotee. And it's coming out, I see, because you got 150 people on this Zoom at the moment, and you're also live streaming, so who knows how many others are watching. But, that's quite amazing thing in this day and age, to have that many. At least in my zone, I get, 20 or 30. In China, we had big, but then we're having trouble, so can't have such big groups anymore. And that's external challenges. So I don't know how long you want me to carry on, but it's like we just had Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Appearance Day festival, and every time I have to speak on that, somehow I got the appearance and disappearance this year. But when they asked Prabhupada, what about your Guru Maharaj? He said, he's a Vaikuntha man. What can I say? What can I say? He's a Vaikuntha man. So I was thinking of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is quite similar. He was definitely always thinking of Prabhupada. He loved Prabhupada so much, and he loved Prabhupada's books. And he read a lot of other books, in order to facilitate his preaching. Like Prabhupada, he could talk to any type of people perfectly, doctors, politicians, kings, Africans off the street, whatever. So you'll be hearing a lot from those early devotees in Africa. Had much more intimate association than I did, but I was blessed with that. A few weeks there, traveling with them with the books and trying to spread the Srimad Bhagavatam, not due to the chaos of Prabhupada. That was right after Prabhupada left. That party dispersed and everybody had to go off to other things. But he was, in the stories of him in the universities and all the stuff he did is so incredible. And Krishna just kept awarding him with everything. So what's the timing? I think it's been 30 minutes, so that might be about it.
Maharaj,
Right?
we still have half an hour more, Maharaj.
Really?
Yes.
It's an hour. Okay. Well, then we can talk. I know one time I especially miss him is in the GBC meetings. He was very fearless to speak out when he saw that something wasn't what he considered like, perfectly spiritual or, unprejudiced or something like that. So he was a very powerful influence on the way that we would think about things. And so I always often wish he was there, when certain subjects come up, because he could speak so eloquently and fearlessly. And in spite of all his power and, the influence he had, he was a very soft-hearted person and sensitive, having grown up the way he did in the ghetto, even his own father prejudiced against him as an Afro-American. How people are. He told me quite amazing stories, which I won't repeat, about his father and how he treated them, the family. Father left the family when he was very young, as far as I know. But he had, in my opposite kind of upbringing of me, we went to church on Sunday, but other than that, there was no religiosity, even with the streak of spirituality around our house, except for 30 seconds prayer before eating sometimes. His mother was always praying and always teaching him to pray, and he was preaching as a very young boy. So we, wherever he went, it would just kind of light up the room. One of those kind of people that when he came in, everybody would notice. He didn't have to make a big show or a big noise or have somebody blowing trumpets. It just lit up the room, made everybody aware that something happened. And when he spoke in any kind of a gathering or any kind of a crowd, it was very wonderful. I remember he did one seminar in Mayapur, forgiving the one who's hurt you the most. And it was a lot of devotees signed up for that. And I wish I would have sat through it, but I probably had other things going on at the time. So I went to visit him after the first meeting. And he was exhausted. He could hardly sit up. And he said everybody was telling their story, how they had been, mistreated by their father and mistreated by this and that, and how they'd been hurt so bad in so many different ways, especially by parents and stuff, and it's especially painful now. And then it was like a 4-day or 5-day seminar. The last day I saw him after it was over, and then he said he was laughing and smiling. And he said the first day everybody was crying and everybody was, crying for the suffering of everybody else, crying for their own suffering. He had this ability to bring it all out, to open up. The devotees wouldn't be afraid to open up for something maybe they never told any about their whole life. Usually that's often the case when we've had traumatic life, that we don't want to tell anybody about it. But he had that power out of love and compassion, and the devotees would speak out. But he said at the end, and everybody was crying and everybody had forgiven the offenders and everybody became very happy. And so this kind of thing, he did many seminars like that. His seminars were always, if he went to any kind of a devotee gathering, whatever kind of festivals, his seminars were always very highly attended. And for two reasons. One was himself, just everybody just fascinated by his presentation, his personality. And the other was for the subject matters that he chose, which hit home to so many devotees, which we often don't want to think about, all these psychological problems and, traumatic things that are blocking us from being able to focus on, no matter how hard we try to surrender to Krishna, the mind is attacking us in so many ways. So this is, the fascinating thing. His books, I remember when I read the first one, Spiritual Warriors, that book got a lot of criticism. I know when I read it, because he didn't write the book, he had been speaking at this university, these New Age kind of universities, to a certain class of people, and he was using their language. He studied, what they were interested in, and he would go to the library and read up on UFOs or pyramids or, I don't know. Those are some of the topics I can remember. And he had to, he was very pioneering to utilize everything. He had a Nishringa one devotee was a karate expert. He had a Nishringa martial arts studio. And from the martial arts people that came, they would pick out people that were serious, that were looking for spiritual life and make devotees. He did a lot of things like that in Washington, really dynamic. And he had a whole closet full of these African dress up kind of priest clothes, and he would utilize that. And that would attract that community very much, that, he's one of the American boys that made it big in Africa. And the fact that he was American and had an education in the Ivy League, and, that attracted people in Africa very much. And they would listen. And when they listened to him, it would cut right through to the heart, because that's what he was aiming at. How he explained to me why he went to Princeton University. The time was when he graduated high school, was just when the civil rights thing was opening up, and these uppity universities had to accept people from different communities, which previously, more or less, they didn't. They had to have a quota, so many Afro-Americans, so many American Indians, so many Chinese or whatever. They had to have to show that, yes, we're open-minded, we're not prejudiced. So he was finished high school, he was doing some sort of counseling, or I don't know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but somebody noticed, his intelligence, and they offered him, you can go to any university you want. Not just because of his skin color, but because, his Shakti, his intelligence. So he said he picked Princeton because they paid him the best. They gave him twice a year a flight back home. They gave him budget for clothes and all kinds of things. So he went to Princeton. But Princeton's Ivy League. It's supposed to be one of the top 8 or 9 universities in America. And even though there were very few from his community, he became very prominent, very popular. Even though he was a very revolutionary minded at the time, in his spiritual pursuits, was following that Malcolm X, I think. He carried a gun, but I think he became something of the, the president of the student council or something. And he did, of course, very well in the studies, and he studied a lot of things which turned out to be very advantageous in his future preaching, because he was very, very learned and very, erudite, very brilliant speaker. We just saw that little thing there. And he was just natural, waving his arms, that incredible smile, beautiful teeth, real teeth, and always perfect tilak, very stunning. He was very handsome, and physically very attractive. Everything about him was attractive. And he told me, he said, I just present myself. My expertise is promoting myself, which was true. But if anybody was attracted, he would preach to them. So from all these different, I don't know what else exactly he had in Washington, but I know the martial arts. And when he gave these speeches at these universities, in these days, in those days, it wasn't like now, you know, they had to record it on a cassette recorder or something. But they would, when you finished a lecture, maybe there was something going on, and they had a machine to make copies of the tapes so they could distribute the cassettes of the talks. And he attracted people like anything, because like I remember one of them, the title was Spiritual Techniques, use that word, technique, which is something that none of us would have thought of using. You know, but while he talked about chanting the holy name and offenses to the holy name to a group of university students. And of course, he presented in such a way that it was very, very fascinating. So when his book started coming out, especially that first one, it had a lot of that kind of stuff, because devotees had transcripts of his talks, and then they just picked out different things and made a book, and he would go over it and, you know, and make some adjustments. Later, he did actually write some books also, but those first ones were like that. And so some devotees just heard that he talked about things like motherships or this or that. And they would say, this is not Vedic and this is wrong. But they were just fanatic, because any book distributor, we'd talk about anything. We'd tell people this is about hunting, or, you know, whatever their occupation was, you know, that's what this is about. What are you interested in? This is it, you know, because we knew everything's in the Bhagavatam. It's applicable to everybody. It doesn't matter what your specific work is. So he was the expert of dressing, and he took it, but he didn't like so much that devotees sometimes didn't recognize. They criticize you not being exact. Now they glorify him like anything for things that he was criticized for when he did it, because you see the results. And so he tells many stories how he managed to somehow eventually come to Prabhupada and Krishna. And then he just came alive, you know. He was like a Gurukul teacher or something in Dallas. Somehow, when he got on that library party, he just exploded. And he sells so many sets of books to the professors. And he just became the most expert. There was a lot of competition with him and Mahabodhi, but you know, for going in the campus and finding his way into the professors' rooms and finding ways to, I mean, they knew how to do it, and they would get one professor to order the books and say they were good, and then show that to all the rest of them, and then, you know, that way many would take the books. And we should pray very fervently. I know his books, then, you know, that turning lust into love, somebody might say, well, why is a sannyasi talking about this? But because it's important. We all have lusty desires. The world is, you know, the Bhagavad Gita says that the demons think there's no God in control and everything is created by lust and lust only, and, you know, on and on. It is insanity like that. So how to convert it to love for Krishna? Because people think lust is love, making love. So he talked about things, that real things, down to earth. But the whole point was to guide us out from the tamagun, which he did expertly. Then, you know, he was told you should write more spiritual. And then he wrote a whole bunch of books, one on Isha Upanishad. I can't remember all of them, but very just scriptural, you know. Okay, it wasn't like he wasn't scriptural. He wasn't presenting when you talk about pyramids and motherships. And I remember somebody that was complaining very much about the mothership one. I wrote an explanation of it, and they never wrote back to deny my explanation of why that was a good thing to say, you know. But point is, when you talk to different crowds of people, you have to speak their language. And then you can find out, you know, somebody likes you, and then when you start to talk about Krishna, they'll listen, because they've already accepted you as some kind of an authority. He was a master of that. Talked to doctors, and somehow he had very good help, you know, Raja Leela and others that were helping set up his tours, and, you know, going to so many countries and meeting so many people. They tried to get him on Oprah Winfrey, but the world is not ready for that, for the Hare Krishna to become so prominent, because anything that got an Oprah Winfrey become the #1 bestseller immediately. So the media world is not ready to present Hare Krishna in such a way. But he met so many people in so many countries, and lifted us all up, especially in West Africa. Because when he first, now in West Africa, everyone has a cell phone, everyone has internet, you know, everybody's fixed up. But in those days, very few telephones. And I remember even when I went more than once, I wanted to make a phone call. We had to go really far to some Indian's place, and then their phone wasn't working. People, they only turned on their phone when they used it, because if they had their phone turned on, then neighbors would tap the wires and use it. The post office, he said, maybe 50% of the letters he wrote got to the devotee he was writing to. And same thing, 50% of what they sent him got to him. Devotees would get upset. Why didn't you write back to me? You wrote back to someone else. Traveling was extremely difficult. It still is, by road, especially with the no good cars we had. But he did it, moving all around Nigeria, Ghana, other Ivory Coast, you know, in different places. And so I'm very happy that I had a chance to be a little bit close with him, be considered a friend. And I hope, you know, I can keep going. I have to admire now that the devotees in West Africa, like I said, they're really representing him very nicely on many levels. And devotees doing some really good preaching. Yeah, because they're working together, committees are functioning, young devotees are taking up responsibility. We just have to pray, and you know, all of you, there's no restriction going to West Africa now as far as, you know, vaccinations or, you know, COVID lockup or any of that. None of that is there. And so many people are on this call. We don't get very many devotees visiting West Africa to help. The devotees appreciate very much if anyone comes there. And especially if someone is inclined towards farming, we very much need help. We have a lot of land. Something is going on, but there's unlimited potential. It's not like other parts of the world, you know, there's good growing season, a little bit if it's too much rain or dry season, but mostly you can grow something all year round. The ground is very, very fertile. If somebody throws their mango seed, it's going to grow a tree. No one has to do anything about it. Just throw it out of the car and trees will start growing. So, and he was really wanting that farming. So I can request everybody, if you can help. Of course, even if you can't go there, you can talk to dear Damodara Maharaja or Srivas Prabhu. Money is needed because we have farmland, but then they have to build a house so someone can live there, on and on and on. But once it gets rolling, then, food will be produced and won't have to worry so much about food, which would be really a spectacular thing. So you want to fulfill he had a long list of things he wanted. He had cottage industries in the early days. Many different programs got started, but the time is very powerful and different things happen. And of course, we can blame external things. The economy went so bad in West Africa. When he first went there, it was $1 to 1 British pound, not 1 naira in Nigeria. That's, amazing. And you could change naira in England or something. When I went, it was 26 naira to $1. So that's 50 times down. And things were getting really crazy. Now it's, I don't know, 300 or 400 naira to $1. But things are picking up. Now there are gas stations functioning almost everywhere. And, a lot of things are much different. It's hard to imagine how it was. I say if India is considered a third world country, then these countries are 10th, But now everyone has a mobile phone and everybody has internet connections. There's a lot more infrastructure and cars. So there's unlimited potential for preaching. People are very spiritual. The people that are intellectual are very spiritual. Also, they're not atheists. There's no atheists. And they're very interested to read the books. And we have a lot of land. And we'd love to see some farmers come and try to help the devotees. A little bit tapasya, but not so bad. Doesn't get cold or anything. You don't have to worry about freezing. So this can be the request. You can just consider it's coming from him. Everyone is welcome to help the African mission. That was his dearmost mission, for many years. And help it to be, Prabhupada said, even if there's a big world war, it won't touch the southern hemisphere. So thank you very much. And Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami 𝐾𝐸𝐺𝐸. And all of you 𝐾𝐸𝐺𝐸. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namaha.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this really wonderful talk. And we're very grateful to you for bringing up so many beautiful points. And as you were sharing about the beautiful personality of Maharaj with that beaming smile, beautiful teeth, beautiful personality. So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is such an inspiration to all of us. So thank you so much for bringing up some really beautiful points, Maharaj, wherein you mentioned about the power of the love and compassion Maharaj would put forth for devotees, which would make them speak, and we experience that even till date today. And also the point where you mentioned about the legacy, as we have this celebration named as Living the Legacy. We're so grateful to be having so many senior disciples of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj present with all of us, and we offer our respectful obeisances to all of you who have joined today with us. And thank you so much, Maharaj, for bringing up this point wherein you mentioned where Param Gurudev's mother would always teach him how to pray. And as a result, we have so many beautiful books by Maharaj wherein he is teaching us how to pray. And that is really a beautiful, wonderful gift that Maharaj has given to all of us. And thank you once again, Maharaj, for taking out your precious time. We're so grateful to be having your association. It means a lot to us. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you very much. And what's next on this program?
Maharaj, you're going to be having some video next and a talk by Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, followed by several other talks and videos, polls and quizzes today.
Okay, thank you all very much. I'll see how much I can tune in and still be able to do a few other things. Thank you all very much. So I'm going to mute myself and then see what you come up with. Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami ki jai.
Jai.
God ki jai. Gaur Bhakta-vrinda ki jai. So don't quarrel among yourself. That means cooperate. You know, we can disagree, but don't quarrel. We disagree, we analyze our different visions and we take out the good points and put them all together to make something much better than we can do by ourselves. All right? Hare Krishna.
Certainly, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And as Maharaj has encouraged all of us to contribute towards the upcoming projects, if any of you are interested, you can write to Ask Your Servant, and we'll surely get back to you for the upcoming projects in Africa. So all of your help, services, and love would be much appreciated. You can write to Ask Your Servant in the chat box, and we'll further get to you with the details. So without much ado, moving on to the next session, we have a wonderful drama on the early life of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. This drama has been very lovingly put up by the devotees from the Indian Yatra, which is shortly going to be shown on your screen. So sit back and enjoy this beautiful drama on the early life of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha.
His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, born as John Favors on 25th February 1950 into an African-American Christian family living in Cleveland, Ohio, in the US. His mother instilled in him the values of self-confidence, selflessness, religiosity, and generosity. She was known for her extreme kindness. Though they were not from an affluent family, but whenever she saw any of her children's friends not wearing proper shirts, pants, or shoes, she used to simply go into her room, take her own clothes or John's or his sister's, and generously give it to them. Peace and love was her mantra, and she was well known as a person who was a carrier of love and peace. As a child, he used to stammer, and due to this, his schoolmates and other children used to tease him.
John. His name is John. Right? John. No, my name is John.
But surprisingly, or maybe it's a miracle, that whenever he spoke about spirituality or talked about God in the church or in moral science class, he would never stammer.
Glory to God in the highest, and peace to God's people on earth. Glory to God in the highest. He's singing so fluently. And peace to God's people on earth.
Glory to God in the highest, and peace to God's people on earth.
The name John Edwin Favors has an interesting meaning. John was one of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ who preached Christianity extensively. Edwin, according to the Bible, means the prosperous friend or a very opulent friend, which we can refer to the supreme, most opulent friend, Krishna. Favors, if we take the American spelling, means the one who is favored, So, putting it all together can mean the preacher named John, who is always favored by the all opulent best friend, the Supreme Lord Krishna. Therefore, we can understand that since the beginning of his life, as his name confirms, he was meant to broadcast the magnificent glories of the Lord. He studied in East Technical High School and excelled in his academic achievements. Further, he got a scholarship to attend prestigious Hawkins School, where he spent an additional year of college preparation in philosophy and political science. He was also a member of football and wrestling team. Back in youth, Johnny Boy had the desire and dreamt to go to Africa as he has his roots there. Years later, as a student at Princeton in 1968, he adopted the name of Toshembe Abdul, identifying himself even more with the African heritage. While in Princeton, he took part as a leader in King Martin Luther's civil rights movement, being at the forefront of political activism on campus, a leader of the Association of Black Collegians, and a founder for the Third World Center. He also served as a president of the Student Council. In 1972, he graduated and earned a BA in Psychology and African American Studies. His professor had arranged for an expense-paid trip to Africa along with a teaching position at an important institution of learning. But he didn't go anywhere. He was also very inspired by yoga and had a yoga guru, Norman Anderson, in Moorish Science Institute, who also guided him in spirituality.
Hi, how are you, John?
Hey Norman, I'm good and excited today.
Yeah, I can see that.
Hey Norman, may I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
Will you accept me as your disciple?
Dear John, though I'm guiding you, but I'm not your real guru. Your guru is from the Holy Land of India, who will introduce you to Vedic teachings.
But I want you as my guru. Please make me your disciple.
Though I am following this, actually I am attracted to the blue boy Krishna, who is the actual creator of all creations. Do you really want to know who your guru is?
Oh yes, please tell.
Your spiritual master is from the Hare Krishna movement, Bhakti Tirtha Swami Srila Prabhupada. He is the real Jagat Guru.
What? Those people who have shaved their heads and wrapped bed sheets around their waist and they move on the street singing and dancing? Do you think these people have something greater than what you have to offer?
Yes, they are the real knowers of Vedas and followers of Krishna, the real black boy, God.
In his mind, he was not convinced about ISKCON. So, he went to ISKCON to know more about it and to get reason why not to join ISKCON. But the more he met devotees and read their literatures, he realized this movement has something deeper to offer. Still, he had reservations, and sometime later, in Harlem, he finally met Srila Prabhupada and asked,
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada.
Yes?
Srila Prabhupada, I am really concerned that I see the same racial discrimination relating to blacks and white in ISKCON too. There is prejudice in the movement.
So, someone is thinking you are the body. That is their nonsense. And if you are disturbed because they see you in this way, then you are also nonsense. Both perspectives show inferior consciousness and should be avoided.
These powerful statements of Srila Prabhupada had a deep impact on John, which changed his entire perspective for lifetime. And since then, there was no looking back. And soon, on 16th February 1973, Srila Prabhupada initiated John as Ghanshyam Das, which means servant of the beautiful dark cloud, who refers to the Supreme Lord Krishna, through a letter from Sydney, Australia.
Jai, Jai, wonderful. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Such an engaging drama, such a wonderful effort by the entire team in terms of the proper accent or be it the beautiful editing of the video. We thank all of you for putting up this beautiful drama. And now for all the viewers who would have known a little more about Maharaja's early life, we're going to be moving on to the next section for today's program, wherein we're going to be hearing from our beloved Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaji, on this theme of community building. So before we go ahead, I'll quickly introduce Maharaj to all the devotees. Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaji, is a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and Maharaj has been serving in ISKCON since the 80s. Maharaj is the first African sannyasi and Diksha Guru in ISKCON, and is very lovingly known for his humility, gravity, and deep knowledge of the scriptures, being a perfect example of living his Guru's legacy, as also pointed out by dear Maharaj, His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj ji regularly teaches Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhava courses at 𝐤𝐢𝐳𝐵𝐚𝐼 and for various other institutes, and facilitates numerous seminars on the practical aspects of Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj has been focusing on community building, self-sufficiency, and a lot more topics about which we're hearing the upcoming projects are coming. He has also authored a book, Spiritual Connection, which talks about understanding the dynamics of guru-disciple relationship to help devotees take the next step in their spiritual journeys. And Maharaj also personally embodies that and guides all the devotees coming from every corner of the world. He tours and preaches extensively in different countries in Africa, Brazil, India, Mauritius, Seychelles, and the United States to deliver the message of Krishna consciousness. Following the desire of his spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj is also developing vibrant Krishna conscious self-sustainable farm communities in Ghana, Nigeria, and in Africa. So to offer our love and respect for our dear Gurudev, we request His Grace Achintya Roop Prabhuji, who would be there at Lagos, to kindly offer the garland to Srila Gurudev before we start the talk. We hear the talk by Maharaj for today. His Grace Achintya Roop Prabhu. Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna. Srila Gurudev, we are able to see you now.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Hare Krishna Pitaya Vitale. Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sri Tanmane Sri Gaura Karuna Sakti Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Salakaya Sakshurudvaitam Namatasmai Sri Gurave. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasari Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaja Ki Jai. So, Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is known all over the world. As a devotee who is very much interested in helping all living entities. While he was here in particularly West Africa, he emphasizes having our own healthy spiritual community. So he was very much into building community building, strengthening of relationships. So this is one of his teachings we're going to share with devotees. Of course, he was teaching this all over the world, but particularly in West Africa, it's only Kaushamara was the West nation. In West Africa, he established mainly cottage industries. We were making shoes, we were making painting shoes, we were making cloth, we were making candles, we were making ceramics, incense, and oils here in Nigeria. Of course, we couldn't handle them properly. So these days we don't have them. But it's the duty of the disciples to fulfill the desire of the spiritual master, either he physically present or not physically present. Because the spiritual master is not limited to the physical relationship which we have. So we have a spiritual relationship with the spiritual master, which is eternal. So we are looking at his teaching, or his contribution to the world. So we decided to speak about this community building as a way to glorify him and also to remind us about some of his desires he had for the Hare Krishna movement. All right. Prayojana. What is the need for a community? What is the need? We already have a mechanized society which is going on. We have already a mechanized community. So what is the need for a spiritual community? So Gurudev explained. The need for community means what? We need to understand the principles and technologies to empower ourselves to be a better devotee and to help nurture a healthy Krishna conscious community. That is the need, and this is a goal. It's not about people coming together, but people coming together with the same interests, the same understanding, and the same taste for whatever. Community people have the same taste for food, same taste for clothes, the same taste for habit, and everything practically the same. But the spiritual community is different. He gives the principles and technologies that will help us to build a healthy Krishna conscious community. So we are looking at that. What is a community? Community is not simply a system or a set of concepts and ideas. It is a living organism whose personality is the aggregate of each individualized consciousness. That's very serious. Community is not simply a system or a set of concepts and ideas, but it is a living organism whose personality is the aggregate of each individualized consciousness, as we were mentioning before. People have the same idea, same taste. Everything looked the same. Everything looked the same. That is a community. Like we have a Hare Krishna community. What is our mindset? So to think of Krishna, to worship Krishna, to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to always be in association, or always wanting to bring people to this association. It's a community. Community is like our own physical bodies, which support many living organisms. When all the parts are functioning together harmoniously, then the body is healthy and its experiences are dynamic. I remember a lecture, a seminar he gave on the same community, the building community, the same seminar he gave. So he mentioned, as he's mentioning here, community is like our own physical bodies, which support many living organisms. In the body, there are so many living organisms inside. In a community, there are different personalities. There are different personalities. The Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, the Brahmacharis, the Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, the Sannyasis. This is a community, well organized. And he's saying here, we support many living organisms when all the parts are functioning together harmoniously. Then the body is healthy and its experiences are dynamic, auspicious, and directed to the well-being of all. So when the head, the arms, the belly, and the feet function nicely, you have a healthy body. So if the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas are cooperating, the Vaishyas and the Shudras will follow suit. A healthy community. When that community, when the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas are cooperating very nicely, the Vaishya, the Shudra would follow, and the Brahmacharis, the Grihasthas, the Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis will follow. So you have a healthy society. Similarly, in a community, everybody will be considered part of that community, or it will be considered a community when everyone is contributing to the healthy state of that community. That is the community. This is the teachings of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and not just a teaching, not just it's a principle or idea, but it is a system that is set and saw it working for years in my own practical experience in West Africa. So it's a community. That means that everyone in that community has to contribute. Otherwise, you cannot have a healthy community if the head is not functioning, the remaining part of the body will not function. If the leg does not function, the remaining part of the body also will not have a healthy community. If the stomach is not functioning, any part of the body that doesn't function will not have a healthy community. So if the different limbs of the community cooperate and work together, we have a healthy community that everybody will benefit. Presently, it is lacking, and it is the responsibility, the duty of everyone to cooperate. A need for community. We need a community, we mentioned before. We have already a mechanized community, which is already going. We have factories. I remember the devotee asked me, so if I go in a city, I can fry my hair, I can keep very nicely. If I go to the community, will there be light for me to make my hair? This is what people think. But let us hear what Prabhupada means by a community, and why there is a need for the community. It's a letter he wrote it to Yashomatinandan. The whole idea is that we are ISKCON, a community will be independent from outside help. This farm project is especially for the devotees to grow their own food. The Prabhupada said here, we are free from being dependent on the outside help. Means what? We don't need to buy our food from there. We don't need to buy our clothes from there. We don't need anything from there. In fact, they should need everything from us. Because in a healthy Christian conscious community, we have philosophy, which they don't have. We have a practical demonstration of you living for me and me living for you. This principle and experience is not there. It is only in the spiritual Christian conscious community that you get it. Only in a Christian conscious community you get it. So when Prabhupada said we shouldn't depend on the outside help, means we should produce everything we need. From where? From the factory? No. This farm project is especially for the devotees to grow their own food, cotton also to make their own clothes, and keeping cows for milk and fatty products. Our mission is to protect our devotees from unnecessary heavy work to save time for advancing in Krishna consciousness. I also remember another lecture Prabhupada gave. He said, you use 3 months to till the ground, use 9 months to chant Hare Krishna. It's not that within the 3 months you don't chant, but it means that we have more time. 3 months to cultivate the land, and you have a lot of produce that will serve you for the remaining year. That's what it means. That is a community, that's a healthy community. So Prabhupada has given it a complete process, the way the community should function. Our mission, Prabhupada said, is what? To protect our devotees from unnecessary heavy work. Means what? Working in the factory. For those of us who have had experience of visiting factory, you know what it means. It is hell. You cannot hear anything because of the heavy noise from the machines, heavy tension, anxiety. It is really hell. So Prabhupada says we should save devotees, to protect devotees from unnecessary heavy work, to save time for advancing in Krishna consciousness. This is our mission. So there is no question of profit, but if easily there are surplus products, then we can think of trading. Otherwise, we have no such intention. The idea of community is not to make money. It is to produce our own necessary foodstuffs for our maintenance. This is what is needed. The commercial idea should not be there. We shouldn't have a commercial consciousness. We should have a brotherhood or sisterhood consciousness, Krishna consciousness. That society, that community is needed. Doing this more naturally is also more in alignment with the divine order, which allows us to be more transcendental. It will help us to be our brothers and sisters' keeper, but we don't have a commercial consciousness. Every single food we buy in the market, it is commercial. It has no good qualities, not suitable for human consumption. Because there is not cultivated based on love, based in the mood of caring people. It is based on selfishness. That is why today people can eat and for the result become more miserable. So every word properly using, every sentence properly using is so powerful and so meaningful that if you understand this thing very carefully and practice it, you follow it, you have a successful Christian conscious natural life. This is because a natural lifestyle synthesizes us and enable us to commune with the essence within and around us. What is that? A soul within, which is what? The part and parcel of Krishna. We'll be able to see each other as brothers and sisters. We'll be able to live a life which is a supporting system that will support each other in our journey back home, back to God. It is extremely difficult to be spiritual when our materialistic desires and habits entrap us, and we are acting wrong, eating wrong, thinking wrong, deluded and distracted by many of the artificial concoctions of this society. How then can we aspire to transcendence? This is very wonderful, very, very powerful. This morning I was listening to a lecture Gurudev gave on died before dying, and he is just speaking about this. When Prabhupada went to Hong Kong, and Prabhupada said, this place is not conducive for Christian consciousness. So, so then Gurudev is explaining Bhakti Tirtha Swami, who was explaining that I was wondering, explain the meaning of this. Also, when he mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that when the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling and he passed through Jharkhand, and he said that the people in Jharkhand, they're like Africans. And God consciousness is difficult. So I will listen to that. And today Gurudev gave the meaning. He said the meaning is that when we are conscious of poverty, when we are too concerned with poverty and how to overcome poverty, we will engage seriously in what? Materialistic activities. And by so much engagement in materialistic activities, in order to remedy our poverty, we will not have chance for Christian consciousness. So he is explaining the same thing. It is extremely difficult to be spiritual when our materialistic desires and habits entrap us, and we are acting wrong, eating wrong, thinking wrong, deluded and distracted by many of the artificial compulsions of this society. How then can we aspire to transcendence? It's one spiritual warrior, voluntary. So Gurudev explained the 4 essential principles for community building. The first principle is that we should treat everyone we encounter as if the success of our spiritual life depends upon the quality of our interactions with them. Very, very important. Treat everyone we encounter, as if a success of our spiritual life depends upon the quality of our interaction with them. This is practical. This is perfect, dynamic. You're traveling from a city to another city. If there is a difficulty on the road, who is going to take care of you? You have, for example, we're not praying for that. It is happening. For example, we are traveling on the way and there is accident, or a vehicle has a breakdown and you are stranded. Who is going to help us at that point? We are going to call our parents to come from the house, to come and help us there. Or whom are we going to call? Who is going to be the next person to assist us in that situation? Is the people who are around. We may overlook them and consider, oh, this is strangers. I don't know you, don't know me. When I was discussing this Guruji's principle of community was with devotees. So I was telling devotees, we should greet everybody. And some devotees said, I don't know them, how will I greet them? So will you tell somebody when you are stranded on the way, will you tell somebody whom you don't know that don't help me because I don't know you? Eh? You desperately need somebody to help you. So God has arranged for the association that we have. God has what? He has arranged for the association that we have. People are in our lives and past. People are in our lives and pass through our lives for a reason. So those people we are traveling with, they are there for a reason. They are there sent by Krishna to help us so that whenever there is any difficulty, they are the next person for us to take assistance. Before you can get to your so-called savior, the people who are around there are the immediate people to take up us. So going back to Godhead depends upon our spiritual consciousness and how we treat each person. Our consciousness is based on what we do daily. Because what we do daily is our future. The aggregate of our daily activities will culminate in the next life which we are going to take. So Krishna has arranged for whoever is with us, whoever is with us, wherever we are, is our neighbor, and they are the people who will intervene whenever there is difficulties, there's challenge in our lives. Therefore, they are very, very important. Second principle, reflect upon the person you love the most and aspire to treat everyone with that same quality of love. A friend read this in the Gurudev's book and she called me. I just read this from your Gurudev's book. I cannot understand it. I love my husband. Yes, that is very simple. Very simple. If you don't love your husband, why are you there? Yeah, I love my wife. Yes. Yes, that is why you're there. I was talking with one senior devotee, very much senior devotee in my approach. So we were discussing. And I asked him the same thing. We're having a discussion. All senior devotees together. And we're divided into different groups. So in the group, I was asking one devotee, Prabhu, can you show me? The whole of this room is full with the senior devotees who are leading this movement. Prabhu, can you show me one of us here or two of us here who really love ourselves in their hearts? He looked at me and said, I love my wife. I said, Prabhu, that is not what I mean. You should love your wife. What about me? Not me, I said. What about other people? It's easy to love your wife, but what about other people? We love them the same way. So Gurudev is saying, the love we have for somebody, there's somebody we love in our mind. There's somebody will have somebody which we love. Gurudev said, we should apply that to everyone. It is very difficult, but it's something that should be done. And this shows the level of our Christian consciousness. It is not an artificial thing. We really need to work on ourselves to come to this level of reflecting on the person that we really love in our mind, in our heart, and apply that to everybody. It is not easy. Most parents are patient and forgiving towards their children. Yeah, like someone loves his wife, or someone loves her husband, someone loves the spiritual master. Imagine how powerful that type of loving care would be when directed towards a co-worker, a next door neighbor, or a stranger on the highway. See, we just mentioned it. It is here. Can we imagine? Actually, to say the truth, anyone who has this consciousness, you are living in Goloka. Anyone who has this consciousness. This is Goloka consciousness. The Gurudev is building in us. It's a Goloka consciousness. A conditioned soul cannot have this consciousness. Only a pure devotee will have this kind of consciousness. Imagine someone walking in a room who you deeply love. How will you act, think, and feel? What will you do then? Extend that behavior to everyone you meet. This is Vaikuntha. This is Vaikuntha. To have the kind of consciousness. This is Vaikuntha consciousness. This is Vaikuntha dealing. This is the duty of those who are already pure devotees. They can do like this. And this is the life we saw His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. This is the life we saw him. Practically, we saw him, this consciousness. So it is not that he's given this principle as a scholar, as a teacher, as a professor. You can just speak, you can write a book, and people buy and they get money. That is completely different. Pure devotee never write book to make money. Pure devotee write books to pass on the message because they have the interest to help everyone. Therefore, their heart is burning. Their heart is burning in compassion to help other living entities. Third principle, view all conflict as your own fault first. This is also very difficult. It is only one sentence, just one sentence. View all conflict as your own fault first. In fact, if anyone who has this conscience, they never have conflict. You would never have conflict. You would never have conflict if you have this, if they have the need. There wouldn't be any need for anyone a third person to come and give us advice if you maintain this principle. First start is your own fault. Even if you are not at fault, but because we call each other Prabhu, it's our responsibility in that situation. We have said many times, you can be a pure devotee, you can be whatever, Paramahamsa, a Goloka Vasi. You can be a perfect manager, perfect leader, a perfect whatever, a perfection we claim to be. The moment somebody is offended by our actions, we are no more right. It is our duty now to say, I'm sorry, to beg for forgiveness. As Gurudev said, we should view every conflict first as my fault, that I have contributed to this problem. Therefore, I should contribute for the solution. So I should simply surrender to the situation I said. I genuinely, even if it's with pretension, it has a very powerful potency. And if it is done genuinely, that's a more purifying effect. And as soon as one genuinely said, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, I did not intend to make you think like this. I'm sorry that I have done that. Somehow all that has happened. I'm guilty. The problem will be automatically solved. Saying Prabhu means I am your servant. You are my master. So if you are my master, and if something is bothering you, it becomes important to me. So I have to see what I am doing or not doing that is causing the problem. This is also a very high consciousness. It's also very, very high consciousness. And because most of us don't have this consciousness, we always have conflict. That two people having any misunderstanding. What is maintaining misunderstanding is not purity, it's not bhakti. It is because of false ego and ignorance that I don't have the understanding of this principle. That for a community to function, I must see that I have contributed to every single situation. Therefore, I will also contribute for the solution. Principle number 4. We should realize that the people in our present environment might very well be the people with whom we will live our life with, and who will be with us at the time of death. This is also another powerful principle, very powerful principle. Except someone who is guaranteed that he is going to be, not the Brahman or Brahman, they are going to be the last person to leave the body. That everyone is going to go and I'll be the last person. Then we don't have to practice this principle. If we don't have this ability, then all of us are responsible to practice this principle. That we should realize that if I leave my body now, who is there to take care? It's the people around. Therefore, it is very, very important for me to practice treating everyone very nicely. Gurudev mentioned before, Gurudev mentioned in other his teachings, that women live longer than men. So you will notice that we have so many widows, not widowy, less widowy. So we have many widows. We shouldn't be the person who will leave the body and our wives are very happy. Because it's a liberation. It's a liberation for them. We shouldn't be the leader. We shouldn't be the leader that when we leave the body, people, our dependent will be very happy. We shouldn't be a director that in a company, if you leave the body, if something happens, the whole workers will celebrate their departure. Not because they are not happy that you leave, because they are happy that you have left. We all know that the time of death determines what happens to the soul. But the mind at the time of death is affected by previous associations. Example, our mind wouldn't be peaceful seeing a person who took our wife or cheated us in business on our deathbed. But seeing someone you love would be so wonderful. We are all locked into each other more than we think. And so we want a real community, not a judo community. A real community where people are functioning and treating each other from the heart. That is a community. And the principle to help us is here presented by His Holiness the Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So it is a summary for what we just discussed. Community is compared to a living organism and is not just a set of ideas or concepts. We need communities to better connect with the divine in natural surroundings with simple living and high thinking. We learn 4 essential principles to empower ourselves in community building and the technologies to apply them. Thank you very much, His Holiness the Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaja.
Yay. Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much for this uplifting talk and also practically guiding us to come up with such communities and endeavors and services wherein all of us can come together to offer something which is becoming meaningful just by your mercy and guidance at every step, and the divine blessings of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. We thank you, Maharaj, for joining today and giving us the talk on community building. And we will be now moving on to the next section of our program today, which is going to be led by my god brother, His Grace Gaurahari Prabhuji. And just for the all the audience, we have a good number of viewers on YouTube, Facebook, and we're also seeing about 151 devotees connected on Zoom. So for all of us, for these wonderful videos coming up by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, you can find them all on the official YouTube channel named BT Swami Vault. And we're grateful to all the devotees who are contributing in bringing up such wonderful clips of Maharaj. And thank you so much. We've been using all our videos from that same channel. Also, for the previous sections wherein it was mentioned about Maharaj's books by His Holiness 𝐶𝐬𝐬𝐬 Swami Maharaj, you can log into Maharaj's official website named BT Swami Vault. You can find it in your chat box. The devotee Ask Your Servant has sent it in the chat box. So you can go there and you'll be redirected to Amazon to buy all the books of Maharaj and watch wonderful videos by him on YouTube as well. So handing over to my brother Gaur Hari Prabhuji. Thank you so much to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining us. I seek your blessings in the way forward of our journey in today's event. So the next event in this session will be a quiz. So now you will be seeing few questions. You have to answer them. As soon as you will answer, the more chances of winning will be there. So we'll be announcing winners of this quiz, but the final winners who will be given prizes will be based on the maximum number of questions you attempt right answer. So the maximum right answers you get, you will be more entitled to win a prize, and that will be declared in the 5th session. So may we have the first question, please? So the first question is, what was the name given to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami by his parents? Option A, John Favors. Option B, Jean Favors. Option C, John Favors. Option D, Johnny Favors. Check. So as soon as you see the poll in your screen, you have only 10 seconds. Please answer. Oh, I can see the options. Oh, 40, 50, 70. Great. My goodness. Jai. So we are getting the maximum 88% for. May I have the answer, please? Okay, it's John Favors. Jai. Thank you, dear devotees. Thank you. So may we have the next question, please? Question number 2 is, who awarded sannyas initiation to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami? Option A, His Holiness Brahmananda Swami. Option B, His Holiness Kirtananda Swami. Option C, Srila Prabhupada. Option D, His Holiness Satswarup Das Goswami. Again, please answer the questions. So many answers are coming. Check. 56% for Kirtananda Swami. God. Thank you. So the correct answer is His Holiness Kirtananda Swami. Jai. Thank you so much. So may we have the next question, please? So question number 3 is, how many principles of community did His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami give a commentary on in his book Reflections on Sacred Teachings, version 5? Option A, 4. Option B, 16. Option C, 32. Option D, 64. May we see. All right. Devotees are really quick. Jai. So, may I have the answer, please? Answer is D, 64. Yes. Thank you so much, dear devotees. We'll announce the winners at the end of this session. but the final winners will be announced at the 5th session. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Now, moving forward, we'd like to invite His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. I'll say a brief introduction about Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj is disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, joined ISKCON in 1987 in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. He took his first initiation in 1987 and second initiation in 1995. And his spiritual master instructed him to act as temple president of ISKCON Ivory Coast. After many years as temple president and involving in Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution and deity service, his Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, sent him to India, Mayapur and Vrindavan in 2002. He went to take the course of Bhakti Shastri and many other Vaishnava courses. When he came back to Ivory Coast, his Gurudev told him, "Now that you have gone to India and learned many things, it is time for you to travel all over Africa and teach what you have learned." His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami took his sannyas initiation from His Holiness 𝐾𝐽𝐺 Swami in June 2015. Now, as a coordinator of ISKCON West Africa Francophone zones, he travels regularly to preach and inspire devotees in Togo, Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Congo, Kinshasa, Mauritius, Reunion Island, and South Africa. Hare Krishna Maharaj, I welcome you on behalf of our team. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you here in this forum. And we have a token of appreciation in the form of garland. So I invite His Grace 𝑭𝒐𝒍𝒍𝒐𝒘 Prabhu to please offer the garland.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my on your lotus feet. Please accept the Mahagarland of Jagannath.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. We are eager to listen from you. We are all here. Hare Krishna. Your voice is not reaching us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prayastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami 𝐺𝐸𝐴. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhuta Srikrishna Sridhara Karuna Sakti Tirtha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prayastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami 𝐺𝐸𝐴. Namaste Sarvasdevi Gaura Panchatani. Nirvishita Sanyavadi Bhakti. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Gaur Bhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Rama. Om Jnanam Chinmaya Jnana Jana Sarakaya. Om Tamna Krishna Shuraya Namaha. So I would like to offer my obeisances to His Holiness Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, Gurudev, His Holiness Srila 𝐾𝐽𝐺 Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Damodara Maharaj, His Grace Srivadas Kanachari, and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis all over the world, and especially in West Africa. So today is very glorious day to celebrate a very great personality, a father, a teacher, a coach, everything. So we had so much from His Holiness 𝐾𝐽𝐺 Maharaj, and also we had this nice small seminar on community building from His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So my topic of today is surrender in practice. Surrender in practice. Now, whatever activity you want to become master in, if you don't practice, then you cannot succeed. maybe music, maybe football, maybe anything. We need to practice. So Gurudev created this school. I first means Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. Institute for Applied Spiritual Technology. Many times Gurudev mentioned in his books that our main problem is false ego. We need to deal with this false ego. And he said in one of his book, Spiritual Warrior, said that in Kali Yuga, everything decreases. Everything decreases. Our intelligence, our spiritual desire, our physical strength, our duty, everything reduces. And the only thing that keeps growing, keeps progressing is the false ego. Actually, our first obstacle and or problem in our spiritual path journey is the false ego. So Gurudev was very serious about that. Yeah. Throughout his life, throughout his teaching, actually, he was teaching us by example. For instance, when we every morning, when you visit the temple, every morning after Mangalarati, then there is Tulsi Arati, then there is Japa time. Okay, then when Japa time, you will stay in the temple room, sit on the Vyasa-puja, and chant is run in the midst of all the devotees. Sit there, chant is run with the devotees. So he's giving us the example how to chant our rounds every day. So everything was doing like Kirtan, Harinam, Sankirtan, everything, preaching, everything was teaching us by example. He was always pushing us how to practice Krishna consciousness. See, it's not just reading books or just being happy, being a devotee. He was very conscious on which type of devotee are you. Yes, you are a devotee, okay, but which type of devotee? He was very conscious about the relationship between all the devotees from all over the world. Very, very conscious about that. So, like, he was always, sometimes he has there's one game called the ego share. You see, we are devotees, the fact that what quality do we develop most? What are the qualities we develop most? We have in Bhagavad Gita, we have divine qualities, and we have demoniac nature. This is chapter 16. Divine nature and demoniac nature. Yes. So he was always conscious of the fact that the devotees should always develop good qualities. The devotees should be exemplary. Even in a dressing, himself was a perfect example. The way he dressed, everything, the way he eats, the way he walks, the way he talks, everything was perfect. So surrender in practice means we have to take shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, at the lotus feet of Guru. But to be able to do that, we need to sacrifice so many things. Mainly sacrifice our ego. No, it was sometimes it was called Swami love. Swami love. Sometimes people were thinking that it was too much relation. No, because how can you claim yourself to be a devotee and at the same time you don't love people around you? Usually the Bhakti Maharaj mentioned the 4 principles of good building. That we should, select the person we love the most and try to extend the love we have this devotee of that person to other devotees. It's not easy. So love is very, very, very important in a society, in an association. So Gurudev was always teaching us that we cannot go to Krishna without being in harmony with our brothers and God sisters and all devotees. One of the books he wrote is a warrior also. He gave one example. He said, sometimes because we are in too much forced ego, we don't even wait for Krishna's reaction. He gave the example that a devotee may come down from stairs and make a mistake and fall. No? Then other devotees, they say, yes, this Prabhuji or that Mataji, he fell down because of what he did yesterday. That is his karma. He said, we even pray Krishna that the karma of devotees arrives very quick. See? So in that way, we cannot develop love of Krishna. Krishna said, those who claim to love me, they don't actually love me. But those who love the devotee of my devotees, they actually they love me. Yeah. So I remember one time I wrote him a letter when I took initiation, and I think 2-3 months after that, I was experiencing so many difficulties, so many difficulties. Then I wrote him. Those days, he didn't have Facebook and this social media now. So I wrote a letter and went to post it. And he was very, very prompt in responding to letters, messages. 2 days, 3 days, 1 week after that, I got the response. Then he told me, okay, now that you are officially a devotee, and he asked me a question. Have you ever seen a student without exam, without test? Be aware that a teacher, a guru, or a father never give a test that is beyond the capacity of the disciple or the student. A student who fell means he does not study his lesson. And you think that when someone is a devotee, a guru, a senior devotee, a sannyasi, a GBC, or whatever, advanced devotee, we think that those devotees, they also don't have trouble. Yes, they have. But the problem is that whenever Maya is coming to visit, Maya will find those devotees, those advanced devotees, busy serving Krishna, chanting or reading or doing any service. That's the difference between ordinary devotees, and advanced. So exam will come, evaluation will come every day. Just ready. How can we be ready? Right? Always practicing how to surrender to Krishna. To surrender to Krishna, we are not used to it because so many lifetimes we have been wandering in this material world, thinking that yes, I'm the body. We have made strong friendship with Ankara. So it's very difficult for us to understand and accept that we are not the body. That is the first, our first step to deal with the first ego and to be able to surrender to Krishna. Because we try to surrender to Krishna, but our mind, our intelligence, and our false ego will tell us different things. So the best way to surrender to Krishna is to always practice. So Gurudev was a vivid example. Always active, no stressing out. Even the time you want to play with devotees, you take the devotees to the beach and swim and all kind of things we are doing. That's all those things we're doing just to be more and more Krishna conscious and to surrender Krishna. I remember one day I came to Ivory Coast, and that time it was very cold, and we put a fan in the direction of the deities, and also some devotees were also fanning the deities, plus the fan, 2 fans. So he asked the devotee to turn the fan in the direction of the devotees. And we were feeling very, 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 very cold, and we were shivering. Then he said, yes, you are shivering. Why? So you are feeling cold. The same thing also. So don't be artificial. That is, they are Krishna in person. You should treat them like person. Not like woods or irons or some things. They are personality. They have feeling also. Yeah. And was also practicing charity also. Always to give, love and give. To the point that when he was at the last stage of his life, when the doctors declared that yes, this is going to the highest stage. So he decided, yes, okay, every attempt for my health to stop. And whatever money has been collected should be used for different subjects. So, like Srila Prabhupada did, there is one chapter in the Srila Prabhupada Limita, final teaching, I think. When Srila Prabhupada was in his bed, preparing to quit the body, he was still teaching his disciples and well-wishers. Same thing also, Gurudev, at last stage of his life, when he was surrounded by his god brothers, god sisters, and disciples, was still teaching love, teaching harmony, teaching how to serve. So to surrender to Krishna, as I said, is not easy, but you need to practice it. By the best way to practice it is to practice how to love people around us. That Gurudev taught us. So I was saying that he introduced the ego share. Buddha was very fond of destroying the false ego. So when he comes to temple, he will put the devotee in the big chair. Then the devotee will ask the other devotees to mention all the good qualities. All the good qualities. Then that devotee, yes, it's me. Yes, all these things are saying, it's true, it's me. So false ego is happy. Then another time, you will say, okay, you mention everything that you don't like from this devotee. Then that is not easy. Except the other one who accepts good qualities, yes, we are very happy. But to be there sitting in a big chair and your God brothers and God sisters and all the devotees will mention things that they don't like from you. It's not easy. You know? So Gurudev was very expert in dealing with that kind of thing. So is a institute, IFAS, an institute for applied future technology. The technology is there, the future technology is there, but if you don't apply it, how can we get the results? A farmer who does not plant the seed, how can he harvest? No. The acharyas, they always tell us that becoming a devotee is like sowing a seed. This is the Bhakti Tirtha beach. Very small. But that seed you need to develop and can become to bring some fruits. Prema Bhakti. But before getting into that prema, there are so many things on the way. So Gurudev was very, very conscious of that. That yes, if you are a devotee, for instance, you remember the prayer he made in 2014. His last prayer he did in Mayapur before leaving the body, before getting sick. That prayer is very difficult when you want to do it, to say it. He was even conscious that those problems in ISKCON should be, to disappear if he has to bear the responsibility. So practice, Gurudev was really encouraging us to practice Krishna consciousness. Because without practicing, we may remain devotee at the surface. It was one word I learned from him is you should always avoid mediocrity. Many times he told us, don't try to justify your failure. Don't fail. Sometimes we are fond of justifying our incapacity of doing things properly. Yes, I could not do it because of that, because of this, because of that. When are you going to do things properly? So avoid mediocrity. Don't fail and justify your failure. So that was good. So in every aspect of his life was teaching us how to perfect our devotional service. So when he says surrender in practice, I mean the whole devotional service we have different practices. That's why I said in the beginning that from morning we'll sit on the Vyasa-puja, make sure we finish the round before going into room. And also he was eating like once for many years, eating once in a day. I think that was around 4:30 p.m. And in the night, a cup of milk. That's all. And Buddha was very expert in solving issues. For instance, if two devotees have issues, he will not judge, he will find out what is the truth. Sometimes we can call both of you of devotees and confront them in front of him. This is the situation. What is the truth? So in that way, there were no chance for duplicity, cheating, lying. So the 26 qualities, Vaishnava qualities, actually Gurudev was pushing us to develop them. Because Vaishnava means Vaishnava. Vaishnava is different from a karmi. Vaishnava is different from a demoniac person. Devotee should be always exemplary, gentle, good manner, good behavior. Devotee should be always be a good representative when he goes outside. Yes, I took time to write so many books. Actually, if you take time to read all these books, we try to develop this quality. I always say that, see, if you are a disciple, for instance, an example, you are a disciple of His Holiness Radhanand Maharaj, then you must develop this quality. And you can see that the disciple of His Holiness Radhanand Maharaj, most of them develop this quality also. If you are a disciple of His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj, then you must develop this quality. If you are a disciple of His Holiness 𝐤𝐢𝐳 Maharaj, then you have to develop this quality. So, if you are a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, then what are you waiting for? To develop the same qualities he was having. Enthusiasm, very always ready to express love, always ready to express forgiveness, determination, service. Again, thinking. You need to apply this science. It is a science. You need to apply it. If you apply it, of course, you're going to get the result. The result is there, but without applying it properly. But plus applying it, okay, but apply it properly. That's why it said it's an institute. In the beginning, we may make some mistake. But one mistake after one mistake, then gradually we become perfect. It is IFA. Then the possible will tell you that. No, don't forget. He said the only thing that keep growing this age, this is a possible. So we must kill this possible to be able to surrender to Krishna. And when we surrender to Krishna in practice, then our mind, our intelligence, also we can surrender to them. Otherwise, we can surrender only with the body. So Gurudev, he helped us. Actually, he helped us to. For me personally, I can see that when we say Guru mercy, I can see that yes, my life is all through mercy of Guru. So many things I'm doing now, so many things I've achieved. When I look at my own life, it's not possible to be where I am now if there is no mercy. From my first musician till now, everything I had, I did from the mercy of today. So I see that he mentioned that when he will go, he will leave the planet, he will even be more present in the life of his disciple and well-wisher. I can feel that. I can feel that. There is one practice I'm still doing, and I encourage all the devotees. I said it last time when I was in Vrindavan, in India, that Don't forget any situation, any problem you have in your life, your life, whatever, before you go to bed, please, if you're a picture of Gurudev, then pray to him. Pray to him, expose your situation, your problem. He will respond. It is the practice of it. Be conscious of your Guru before going to bed. Yeah. So we need to surrender to Guru always by putting our problem in front of him. He will always respond. Always. Always. He taught us how to write. I didn't know that before. How can we write a letter to Krishna? How is it possible? Yeah. So even he instructed that we should at least practice to write a letter to Guru, at least a letter every month. He instructed us to be Vani conscious. Guru may not be always present, but at least you should always be conscious of his instruction. Yes. So I don't know how much time I have now.
Yes.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
Time is up.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. As we stop now.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you so much. It was really engaging, and first I would thank you for the teachings and the realization, and I hear a lot about the high chair. So when you mentioned, I was like, oh, how it looked like, I don't know, but still, I heard about this many a times. So thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Hope to see you soon. Hare Krishna. So next, as we move forward, I would like to invite His Grace Ajay Chaitanya Prabhu. If I briefly explain, His Grace Ajay Chaitanya Prabhu came to know ISKCON in April 1979. He got initiated on Srila Sanatan Goswami Appearance Day in 1992. His service ranged from washing pots to temple president. He is currently serving in the local Mauritius BBT and is also director of Bhaktivedanta College of Education and Culture since its formation in Mauritius about 25 years ago. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining us. We are eager to hear from you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnuvedaya Krishna Prashyaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sri Tasmane Sri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namine. Dear Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances at the dust of your lotus feet. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to your divine grace. Maharaj, it is only by the will of providence that such a soul like me came in your association. Though these encounters were brief, I learned several lessons through your mercy. As Lord Krishna wanted Arjuna to get credit for the Mahabharata war, Lord Chaitanya wanted Srila Prabhupada to get the credit of propagating the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the whole world. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada wanted his representatives to get the credit to expand ISKCON for the next 10,000 years. Maharaj, you have played, is playing, and will play a big role in this context. Your potency of changing people's lives is noteworthy. Your untiring way of distributing books through different schemes, even to the point of getting an order of Srila Prabhupada's books in a closed school and in its restroom. Maharaj, a devotee in Mauritius arranged for a 10-minute interview at the Mauritius College of the Air. The organizers were so impressed that Maharaj ended up in giving several interviews on different topics without any prior preparation. And also, to go to that program, Maharaj opted to be driven in a very old, simple car, as a devotee scheduled to drive Maharaj that day was a little late. Maharaj, your respect to different religious practices and cultures help ISKCON to grow. You even dedicated one of your books to the leaders of the Mauritian government, who has been maintaining unity in one of the most diversified countries in the world. Maharaj, towards the end of your pastimes in this mortal world, I had some reservation in recommending one of the prospecting candidates for initiation. You mercifully accepted that candidate and also instructed me how to deal with that problem at that time. Maharaj, through your own example, you demonstrated that the place of blessing the body is not important, but what is more important is the consciousness. Maharaj, I've treasured your last instruction. You told me that you will continue to visit Mauritius as long as I'm in charge. That happened when you were leaving Mauritius at the airport. How could I know that was your last visit? All glories to the divine grace. Happy birthday, Maharaj. Happy Vyasa-puja. Your most insignificant servant, 𝐤𝐢𝐳𝐴𝐻𝐻. Thank you, dear devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the lovely offering. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And now, as we move forward, we will now have a video on the books written by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So, may we have the video, please?
This precious book will transport readers into the extraordinary life of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. It brings to light his journey from a childhood of desperation to his blossoming as an international honored spiritual leader, achieved not by political power, but by love, compassion, and relentless courage. Black Lotus is an uplifting story enriched by the personal testimony of family, friends, college professors, mentors, disciples, and other travelers on the spiritual path. As a result, the reader is offered an intimate look at the Swami's life and times, which blossom on these pages in florid detail. As the beauty and sublime perfection of a lotus rises in the majesty above its stem, which is buried deeply in the clouded waters, so Black Lotus is a tribute to one who rose above numerous obstacles and limitations, inspiring others to do the same.
Jai. Thank you so much for the wonderful video. And as you have seen, the book is available on bdswami.com, or you can write it in the chat box and our coordinators will coordinate with you to provide you with the books if you require. Thank you so much. Moving forward, now we would like to invite His Grace Srivas Prabhu. His Grace Srivas Prabhu joined ISKCON in Africa in 1981 and get initiated in 1983. He served as the temple president in Hare Krishna Prabhuji Tanvat Pranam in different temples of Nigeria and Ghana. He also served as VBD manager and regional secretary as teaches in Mayapur Institute, Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vedanta course, Bhakti Vaibhava courses. At present, he served ISKCON as the Regional Secretary, West Africa, GBC Deputy, member of TASC, Task for Assessment of Sannyas Candidate, Sannyas Ministry, Executive Member, Sustainable Vaishnava Community Development, SVC, Zonal Supervisor for West Africa, and the Global Duty Officer. He is the West Africa's first Grihastha Guru. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining us. We are greatly honored to have you here. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to offer a garland. By
Please accept my
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
garland of Baldev.
Jai. Thank you. Mercy received.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarudhyascha kripasindhubhyayavcha panitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much for inviting me to this program. My obeisances to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj and his wonderful disciples who put up this program to glorify Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. It is always a great opportunity to glorify Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, who sacrificed his life for the benefit of all of us. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my gratitude to Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj on his appearance day, on his Vyasa-puja day. Before we go on to say something, we have to first of all offer our obeisances at his lotus feet. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashri Tatmani Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Iti Namini Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvase Sasyavari Pasachade Satarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, thank you very much again, Bhakti Tirtha Damodara Maharaj and your wonderful disciples for this program and for allowing us to say a few words in glorification of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Actually, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's glories, they have no end. Just like it is said that Ananta Sesha, from the time of creation, has been singing the glories of the Lord, but there is no end to it. Similarly, the great devotees of the Lord, like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, his glories have no end. Even when he is no more present, physically present in this world, but his glories continue to expand. So, I am so limited. I am so limited to be able to glorify Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. The glories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is so unlimited that a limited person like me cannot actually even touch a drop of that glories. In fact, one time, His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj, I was having some conversation with him in Mayapur. Anytime Maharaj would meet me, Chandramauli Maharaj would meet me, he would say, "Hey, Shrivas, how is the preaching going in Africa? Or how is the preaching going in West Africa?" And I will often say, "We are trying." So, but one time when I said we are trying, they said, "How are you trying?" Then I said that we are trying to follow the footsteps of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And immediately, Chandramauli Maharaj became very angry. He said, "How can you say that? Who are you to say that? Can you ever follow the footsteps of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj?" I said, "Maharaj, I'm sorry. I want to say we are trying to follow." He said, "You cannot even try." He said, "Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is in his own class." He said, "I am his friend. I'm his god brother. But where Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is, I cannot get there. He is a liberated soul in his own realm of existence. So you cannot follow in his footsteps." So I had to rethink before I can get the answer. I said, "Okay, Maharaj, we are trying to follow his instructions." And he said, "Very good. If you try to follow the instructions of the spiritual master, that is your perfection. But if you say you are following his footsteps," he said, "you don't have the capacity, you don't have the potency, you don't have the adhikar to follow the footsteps of such an exalted person." So all that I'm trying to say is, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is an empowered soul, empowered devotee that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent into this world to assist Srila Prabhupada in establishing and spreading the mission of Krishna consciousness. And so we can all see how much Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj contributed to the establishment of Krishna consciousness in this world. It is a fact that his contribution is vast. And even though Maharaj is no more with us physically today, but the effect of his preaching, the effect of his contribution goes on to expand more and more and more. People are reading Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books and they're becoming devotees. People are reading Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books and they're accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People are using Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's books as resource material for many, many programs in many, many academic institutions. So the influence, the effect of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is great. It's unlimited. I just want to say that my meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I describe it as the dawn of good fortune. If I had not met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I don't think I'll be sitting here with you today, participating in this program. And all the things said about me, it is simply by the mercy of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So for me, meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in this life was the dawn of good fortune for me. Of course, we can also see that many exalted people in this world, they also met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And we can also say that it was also the dawn of their good fortune. When I met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I was confused whether to go with academic education, whether to opt for spiritual life. I was at a crossroads when I met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. But as soon as I met him, he immediately threw light and brightened my way. He immediately drove away the darkness that was covering my vision. He immediately gave me the understanding that life in the service of Krishna is more important than all the degrees in this world. Even though at that time I could not properly understand, but just my attraction to him, my love for him, my appreciation for him made me to accept his offer, made me to accept his advice, that better I devote my life in the service of the Lord than to pursue academic education. So I have to say that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was the dawn of my life. It was the dawn of good fortune in my life. If I had not met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in this life, I don't know what would have happened to me. I don't know where I would have been by now, probably dead. But by his kind mercy, by his kind inspiration, by his kind guidance, by his kind direction and sometimes chastisement, I have been able to be connected to Lord Chaitanya's mission. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj is very instrumental in my becoming a devotee. And Krishna was so kind that he arranged for me to meet him at the very beginning of my spiritual life. And so I will always describe that my meeting with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was the dawn of good fortune in my life. Whatever I am of today, whatever I have today, and whatever I will be in this Krishna consciousness, I simply see it as the mercy of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Even this aspect of Vedic education, studying the Bhakti Shastri, studying Bhakti Vaibhav, and trying to teach and help others, it is all coming from Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Even though he had disappeared from the planet in the year 2005, and I began to study the Vedic scriptures in 2007, but Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was involved. He was directing. He gave me instructions. Go and study Bhakti Shastri. Study Srila Prabhupada's books. Understand what you are pursuing. Understand Krishna consciousness philosophy. Then you can be a preacher. And based on that instruction, we are trying to learn the scriptures so that we can share whatever we have learned with others. So the dawn of my good fortune was meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in this life. And every Vyasa-puja is like reinforcing that dawn of good fortune. Every Vyasa-puja reminds me of the mercy, of the unlimited mercy that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj has given me. Without his mercy, I don't see myself anywhere in the world, what to speak of becoming a member of the Hare Krishna movement. So on this very auspicious day, I want to thank Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj a million times over for his kind mercy, for his kind guidance, and for his kind direction. And I pray that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj will continue to guide me in my life, on my path, so that in this life, I can make the best use of this bad bargain. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj had influenced a lot of people. The president of Sierra Leone, President Momo, president of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, President Obasanjo, president of Ghana, late Jerry John Rawlings. They have all testified how by meeting this singular person, how by interacting with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, not to forget Nelson Mandela of South Africa, President Nelson Mandela of South Africa. These personalities, they have mentioned how by meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, their lives had changed. They had mentioned how by meeting Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, they can understand the difference between life and death. They can understand the importance of this human life. So not only me, but I can say that any person who has met Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and that was the beginning of their good fortune. That was the dawn of their good fortune. And I count my blessings. I count myself very fortunate that somehow or the other, I have gained the association of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. I've gained his guidance. I've gained his mercy. And I pray that Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj will continue to feature in my life and guide me out of this material world. So on this blessed day of his appearance, on this blessed day of his Vyasa-puja, I simply pray at his lotus feet that Maharaj may still continue to show his mercy, may still continue to guide me, so that at the end of this useless life, I will be able to attain his lotus feet. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say a few words in glorification of such an exalted, great personality that I don't have the capacity to glorify. But thank you for giving me the opportunity. Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaja ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. It was such a heartfelt offering. It really touched our heart. And the line which you have mentioned, we can't follow in his footsteps. We can only follow his instructions. It really touched all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So, dear devotee.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you. So, dear devotees, now we are heading for the winners of the quiz. So, may I have the results, please? So, winner of the quiz. Question number 1. First winner, Radha Madhav Das. Nisha Sharma, Nidhi Bharati. Jai. Question number 2, Atma Devi, Parvati Dasi, Abdullahi Asimalo. Jai. Thank you. Question number 3, Gabriel Masri, Geeta Tripathi, and Nidhi Mahathmat. Jai, Jai. Thank you so much for your participation, and your devotees keep playing for winning a grand prize. Thank you so much. And next, we will have the schedule for the tomorrow, and after that, there will be a cake cutting ceremony. And I request you to all stay with us so that we have a grand cake cutting ceremony where devotees from all around the globe will be joining us, and we will be having a huge family where we all will be enjoying the prasad. Thank you. So tomorrow's session will be first a talk by His Holiness Sachinandan Swami on the topic Keeping the Inspiration. Then there will be a talk by Ananta Acharya Das Prabhu. Then there will be offering by devotees. And then there will be a drama by Ghana Yatra. So a lot more exciting offerings and lectures and drama will follow tomorrow. So please join us tomorrow also. Thank you. So now the cake ceremony. So I'll be calling the names of the devotees who have prepared their cakes one by one, and I request them to prepare with their cakes so that as I call their names, they will be in the screen, and we will be offering our cakes to His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. So first, I would like to call Hari Pran Priya Mataji from Kenya. Hare Krishna Mataji. May we have the darshan of cake.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to offer cake online to our Gurudev. We are very grateful to all of you. And we are presenting a Black Lotus themed cake, as we just heard about the Black Lotus. So here is our presentation.
Yeah, Hari Bo. Such a wonderful cake.
Hari Bo. She live there. Don't enter there now. She live there.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. So next, we will be having a cake offering by Navakishori Mataji from India.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept our humble obeisances. Here we are presenting this humble offering of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. This is the Maha chair of our dear Param Gurudev, which he used to use during his visit to Bhakti Vedanta Hospital in Mira Road. In this cake, we have tried to mention few qualities of our dear Param Gurudev out of many qualities, like accommodative, tolerant, fearless, compassionate, leader, forgiving. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to serve our dear Param Gurudev in a way. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful cake. Really, thank you. So moving forward, now may we have Chandravali Devidasi Mataji from Italy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. All glories to Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. Thank you so much for these opportunities. Please accept my humble obeisances to your lotus feet. I'm speaking from Florence, Italy. And I wish from the bottom of my heart that His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj accepts this humble cake offering in the name of the devotees from Europe. Wait.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Such a wonderful cake. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jai. So next, moving forward, we have a cake offering from Indulekha Devidasi Mataji from Brazil. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Bhakti Tirtha Swami, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm talking directly from Brazil, São Paulo, and it's an honor for me to be here and to be able to bake a cake for this marvelous appearance day of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. And I'm gonna show you now my humble offering.
Wow.
And the deities also.
Jai, thank you. Thank you so much for the darshan.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So next we'll have Sukadeva Prabhu and Bhakti Vani Mataji from Mauritius. Maybe hack cake number 5.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to make a cake for this Maharaj. And as you can see, he's our black lotus on our face.
Jai, Jai, Jai. Haribol. Such a wonderful cake. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your offering. Hare Krishna. Next, we have Daya Rupa Devidasi Mataji from Ghana. We have cake number 6, please. So many wonderful and beautiful cakes, and cannot honor them physically. And we all share the same thing. So wonderful cakes, such a wonderful heart, everything devotees are showing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisance. Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev, please accept our respectful obeisance. This is our little offering. Hare Krishna, this is our little offering in honor of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj from Ghana. We want to express our appreciation for everything he has done for us and is doing for us, and we really pray to be an instrument for his service.
You're not seeing it.
Yeah.
You don't see it. It's just down there. Nobody's seeing it.
Please, is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, Gurudev. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, yeah, such a wonderful cake, Mataji. Thank you so much for your offering. Yeah.
Thank you.
So next we will have a cake offering from Nanda Vallabhi Mataji from London. Oh, cake number 7. Hare Krishna. You're on mute.
Mute, okay. Is that better now?
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Thank you for engaging me in this service. I feel really privileged to be baking a cake for dear Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Thank you. My cake is here. Okay, I tried to do a black lotus, and I'm feeling a little ashamed of seeing the other black lotuses. So here is my black lotus.
Your heart is important, Mataji. Oh, Jai, it's wonderful. My God. Jai, Jai, Jai. So wonderful cake, Mataji. You're so humble. Yes. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Okay.
Glad to see.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And moving forward, now we will have Paritoshni Chitra Devi Dasi Mataji from Mayapur, from the Dham, Mataji. Hare Krishna. You're on mute, Mataji.
Okay. Hare Krishna, devotos. Todas as glórias de Srila Prabhupada, todas as glórias de Srila Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaja, todas as glórias da Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami. Eu fiz bolo em formato de pizza, que é a minha lila, que eu tenho com Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Alguns
Hare Krishna, dear Paritoshni Mataji. I guess there are 2 devices connected there. There's an echo. Can you disconnect the audio from one of the devices?
Hare Krishna. Todas as glórias a Srila Gurudev, todas as glórias a Bhakti Tirtha Swami, todas as glórias a Srila Prabhupada. I make one simple cake, pizza cake.
Jai. Most colors.
Yes.
Such a wonderful cake, Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much. Devotees are already loving it. So now we will move forward to the devotees in Lagos, Nigeria. The cake is prepared by Achintya Rupa Das Prabhu and Hare Krishna Prabhu. You are mute. There are two devices.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, Prabhuji, there are 2-3 devices who are
just 1 minute. Yeah. Hare Krishna devotee.
Yeah, this is
Hare
better.
Krishna devotee. Pranam. All glory Srila Prabhupada. All glory to good to Bhakti Maharaj. All glory to Gurudev. So happy Vyasa-puja to all of us. So we're here to present our humble offering, our cake offering.
Jai Hari Bol.
Maharaja ki
Jai. Such a wonderful cake. Jai, Jai, Jai. If Gurudev is available, may we have a cake cutting ceremony right now, and dear devotees, as if we have Gurudev to cut the cake, then simultaneously you all can also be cutting your cakes and we'll enjoy these festivities. So may I invite Gurudev for cutting the cake. Jai.
Haribo.
Jai. Devotees all over the world who have offered their cakes, we request you to cut your cakes. Jai, Jai, Jai. Such a delight to see. Wow, wonderful. So mouth-watering actually.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Srila Gurudev. So wonderful.
Celebration.
Yes, it's so
Praying
wonderful.
that all of you are blessed by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Srila Gurudev. Thank you so much. And it is so mesmerizing, so beautiful. It is such a delight to see, and with all those cakes, it's now the time to enjoy these festivities. So may we have a video where Bhakti Maharaj will be leading a kirtan, and we all be dancing and jumping and everything, and let's have that energy to enjoy. Hare Krishna. And don't forget to join tomorrow. We'll be displaying tomorrow's schedule again, and see you soon.